Good morning. Can you hear me? Thank you all for being here as we announce and arrest 26 years in the making. This is one of our cold case homicides that we've been working on for decades in this particular case, but we also had an opportunity to have our cold case symposium, and we looked at cases, and this is one of the cases that we looked at. I'm joined by Chief Hobbs and Colonel Ingram, but I also need to give credit to Sergeant Rasmussen, who's in here somewhere. I need to give credit to Karen Streeves, who's in here. I need to give credit to Ted Chamberlain, who's in here. I also want to acknowledge the assistance of the State Attorney's Office in helping us to solve this case. But first, I have to take you back to kind of where this thing started at. And I think if I can get this thing done, I can kind of show you. This is Stephen Davis. Stephen Davis was a cab driver, and this is what Stephen Davis looked like. And the event, of course, took place in 1998. The information that we have: at 2 o'clock in the morning, Winn-Dixie employees who were on break see a black male sitting and talking about a job at the gallery at NAS Pensacola. At 3:15, Stephen Davis is seen by Mark Osborne at Amico Station at the Circle. Picture number 2, which is what we see right here, a black male at 3:30 is seen by Pensacola News Journal employees outside of Beals. If you can look on the very top corner up here, there's a male. Is this side over here? Male with wearing a red outfit, and that's one of the pictures that we had. So right now we have a suspect that's sitting outside. We have a couple of witnesses talking about him, and we also have this photo from old security footage that shows a male wearing a red shirt. At 3:45, the male sitting on a bench outside of Winn-Dixie waiting on a cab, and he tells Winn-Dixie employees that his girlfriend put him out and that he won't let him back in the house. At 3:59, per this receipt, Stephen Davis checks out of Winn-Dixie and he goes back to his cab. So this is the timeline as we see it right now. Witnesses on the bench eating lunch outside of Winn-Dixie also noticed this. At 4:05, there are shots fired, and witnesses see Stephen Davis running towards Winn-Dixie, and he collapses next to a truck that is nearby. This is the taxi cab, Stephen's taxi cab. This is where the shooting took place. He gets out, and then he collapses, looking for help, seeking help at a pickup truck that is nearby. The case, if you can look over here, I'll try to get right about here is where the cab was. And again, this is an aerial photo from 1998. And then he stumbled a short distance from there. The investigators were initially assigned were John Sanderson and Buddy Neesmith. And then they quickly started working on what information that they had. Again, as you know, it's not a whole lot. They had some people that talked to an individual. They have some vague photos of an individual. And now they try to put together a flyer. And this is the flyer, the original flyer that we put out back in the Sheriff's Office put out back in 1998, showing the best description of the individual that was seen at the Bells, the individual that was talking to other witnesses outside and talking about his work at NAS. We did have one piece of information, and it was this bloody fingerprint. We knew that the blood was the victim's blood. We knew the blood was Stephen's blood, but we couldn't get the detail that we needed from this particular fingerprint, but we tried. We tried not once, not twice. We tried 3 different times, but we weren't able to get, based on technology that was available to us, we weren't able to get the detail that we needed to form up an adequate identification. Ultimately, on the 3rd try, after years and years of trying, and based upon some recommendations of our cold case symposium, we tried one more time with some new training, but also new technology. And this is the print, that old bloody print that you just saw. This is the print, what it turned out to be, giving the latest technology. And that print put us to this individual right here. And this is the individual that is the person that we ended up arresting. This is the person we've identified as the person that killed Stephen Davis. So that's where we are right now. He is right now incarcerated in state prison. He's not due to get out for several more years. We have contacted them and we have told him that Mr. Howard is not to get out and that we need him. His name is Donald Holmes, right? Donald Holmes. He was born February 10th in 1980. So Donald Holmes II is the individual that we are clearing our case with, and he's the individual that will see justice. He's going to be coming back here to Escambia County. They will try him for the murder, even though it happened 26 or so years ago. This is the original article from Pensacola News Journal that we had seen, and so I think it's fitting, since I've given you all the information that I can, I think that it is altogether fitting that we see this, because when I talked to the family, the young ladies that are over here, and their response really was that they wish that their mom would be able to be here during this day to see the individual that killed her son go to justice. And before I finish, I would like to give the last words to Miss June Wilburn. And if you can see up here, so her last words are, he had a great deal of compassion for people. He was a great big bear of a person with a real kind heart. And so I'm not the only one speaking here. Stephen's mother speaking here as well, and I think it's altogether fitting that that's the case. Are there any questions? Covered it pretty good. I think that what's important to note here is that we take all of these cold cases very serious. We don't stop just because we've exhausted all the leads that we have at one particular time. We talk about these things. Colonel Ingram and his crew talk about these things probably every week, and we take a look at what new technology or new techniques. Sometimes it's technology, sometimes it's techniques. And as you can see, that we had that first bloody fingerprint that we knew that the killer had made that print, but we couldn't quite get the detail enough to where we can identify the individual. We had all this auxiliary information. We had a vague picture. We had a rendering of what he's going to look like. We had all this stuff, but we weren't able to quite identify who it was. And we worked and worked and worked for hours and years upon years. We had a number of different suspects. They scoured the area. There was a canine track. In fact, Chief Leiter, back when he was a canine officer, he was with the Pensacola Police Department. He was called to do the canine track, so he remembered the case very well. And I think that, again, this just goes to just the tenacity of the unit that we have that work these cases. So, and with that, I think that it is a good thing. It's not going to bring Stephen back, but I can tell you that I hope that it brings the family some comfort knowing that the individual that did it is now going to answer for those crimes. So if there's no questions, I will conclude the press conference. So thank you all very much.
Just text me. If you'll just text me a good email, okay, my number.
I do.
If you'll just text me, and I just have everybody text me their emails.
I'm sending it to you right now.
And then I'll send it as a group email to everyone. That way it's just easier.